Yo, what is going on, guys? So, we got a clip here today of a single mother who is not too happy about the fact that she is a single mother. Now, before we crack into it, gentlemen, just a foreword here. Don't go and harass this person, don't go give her bad vibes or anything like that. We're just going to be addressing what she has to say. And without further ado, let's just crack into it and see what she has to say.
I'm so sick of having to be the bad parent all the time because I'm the only parent. I don't want to be the one that always yells and who makes him sad and makes him cry. I wish I had the luxury of having someone here to just help me and to help me carry this weight because I just want to be able to enjoy being a mom.
Here's the thing, gentlemen. Okay, raising a kid, it's a family job. It's a two-person job. Okay, these people want to go out here and be single mothers and think that they're strong and independent and that they can do it all by themselves, right? And then fast forward down the line, we get a situation like this. Now, I'm not making fun of this girl here, right? I'm not attacking her or anything like that. I'd just like to you to kind of consider the fact that these girls who get on here and they cry about their situation and how they don't want to be a single mother. Single mothers, it's a choice that they make. It is a choice in the men that they make whether or not they will become single mothers or not. And I will say this, guys, girls don't want to be like they do and they don't, right? Like they want to be strong and independent, and they want to be able to go and have fun with other guys if they want to, and not be with a guy who they deem unattractive or unworthy or whatever the case may be, or maybe he just left her. But these girls who are in these situations, man, they can't do both jobs. Right? You can't fully develop a child without a man in the house. Okay, despite what society wants to tell you at the moment, men are actually needed to raise children. I know we've got this giant thing going on where it's pushed that men aren't needed in the family structure and stuff like that, and yet here we have an example showing what happens when there's no man in the house. And let me just say, right, this lady crying here, I want you to consider the kid for a second as well. Growing up without a dad and stuff like that. I mean, that is the most damning thing a child can go through. I believe, obviously there's worse things technically, okay, but one of the worst things a child can go through is to grow up without a dad in the picture. Okay, now we don't know this girl's situation. Maybe the dad's out of the picture because, for one reason or another that he actually has to be. But a lot of these girls, man, they have the choice to have a dude there, and they just opt for the fun ride instead. Let's continue.
I want to be excited for it, not stressed out and irritable and just exhausted. I feel like all I do is yell at him, and I'm always irritable, and I get so mad so quickly, and it's not his fault. And I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't...
The dynamics of parenting, right? They're not something that's supposed to be fulfilled by one individual only. Okay, girls will raise the child from a very young age, and and their job is to develop. As a child grows up, she typically takes care of the child at a very young age, but the man's typically there to enforce boundaries and stuff like that, man. Like, she's there to give compassion, empathy to the child. A man is typically around to give boundaries to the kid. Right? You notice a lot of guys who don't grow up without fathers in the picture. Their emotions are all kind of out of whack. They don't have boundaries. They struggle with interpersonal relationships. A lot end up in jail or doing some kind of questionable behavior that gets them in trouble with law enforcement and stuff like that. I mean, men are such an important part of the family unit and a child's growth. It is just unacceptable, in my view at least, to have a child that is not raised without a man in the picture as well. Now, you guys can disagree with me on that if you wish, but the stats bear it out pretty well that single mothers, okay, you want to talk about the raising of children, the children don't typically turn out too well. They really don't. And maybe you're a dude who's grown up without a father, and you know exactly what I'm talking about right here, right now. Or maybe you're a dad who's gone through this situation where you're not in touch with your kids anymore. Maybe you got forced out of the family unit through the divorce courts or something like that, and you know exactly what I'm talking about right here. Like, these kind of situations are very real. They are very common. And before we move on to the next part of the video, guys, I don't mean to be like a super downer on this video, but this stuff is going to continue happening more and more because as families get more fragmented, they continue to make more fragmented families. And that's just the way it is. Again, before we move on, not making fun of the girl here, guys. Don't go and attack her or harass her or anything like that. Just trying to address her points. Now let's continue to the next video. This is a fantastic one. All right, beautiful. So it says words on the screen, and I'll read them as we go through here. Seeing girls get treated good and loved correctly by their husband, seeing them happy and not getting cheated on in relationships, being loved and spoiled during their pregnancy, and then wondering why you don't get that too. Yeah. You know, girls will sit here. Again, I'm just turning the music down because it's really loud through my headphones at the moment, but you know, girls will ask themselves the question, why can't I get a relationship with a good guy who won't cheat on me? Okay, and you've got to understand that I make this point all the damn time because it seems to come up in pretty much every video that we watch, men. The girls who are sitting there and they're going through all these painful situations, oh, I'm anxious, I don't know whether he likes me, he won't commit to me, you know, all these sorts of things, but the girl really wants him. You could choose another guy. You know, and I had a discussion with a patron, I believe it was yesterday, and I was talking to this lady, I won't mention her name, but she was over on the Patreon, and she was asking me, like, Taylor, why do you say that women are the choosers in the dating market? You know, don't men choose too? Right? Don't men have any choice? And let me just put it to you this way. Men do not have options in the dating market. It is very rare for a man to have options in a dating market. Right? Men typically take what they can get. Right, this is why you see all these, you know, simps out here shooting their shot with every single girl, because they're not going to get a girl otherwise. Like, they have to just, throw it everywhere and hope that something sticks, right? And let me put it to you this way as well. Even if you're a guy and you're not a simp, okay, the girl's expectations have gotten to the point where an average girl thinks that she's entitled to a man who is well above average. All right, guys do not have options. Girls are the ones choosing. Right, this is why in nature you'll see a lot of animals, you know, the male species will have, like, you know, big beautiful feathers and stuff like that, or they'll do dances, or they'll make songs they'll compete and they'll try and impress the girls, and then the girls will choose from the ones that perform the best. Girls choose their relationships, and the reason why I say that is because it's difficult. Now just turn the whimsical music back on. It's difficult to have sympathy for these situations when they're completely self-inflicted. You could choose different men, but you choose the guys who are not loving, who don't care about you, who cheat on you, who will leave you left on red all the time and all this kind of stuff. And then we wonder, how did we come to the first video that we watched on today's show, right? How do girls get in these situations where they're crying on camera and they're really upset about the situation, you know, they don't have a dude in the picture to help them along? This is the exact same thing. This is exactly where it stems from. It stems from choices that the girls make. Okay, if you're a guy, and I'll just make, you know, just to hammer it home before we continue to the next video here. I'm going to turn the volume down even more on my end. Goodness gracious, that's so loud. If you're a guy, and, you know, you're an average guy, you're going to have to shoot your shot with a lot of girls for one to be interested in you, if you're the average man. That does not mean you're in a position of choice. What that means is you're in a position of lack. Men in general, you have to work really damn hard for people to even consider you to be a partner. And a lot of the times, you know, this is a bit of a downer, so don't dwell on this too much, gentlemen, but, you know, a lot of the times, it doesn't matter how hard you work, right? Girls will have height requirements, they'll have looks requirements that can't be changed, they'll have ridiculous income requirements. Okay, and those are average girls with those things typically, and then people want to pretend like it's the men choosing. No. Men do not have the options in the dating market. Let's continue to the next video because I've ranted on long enough about that subject.
What are your expectations?
Oh goodness, and this, you know what? This is a perfect segue. Actually, let's have a look at this.
What are your expectations of him as a man?
Definitely to look after me, to cover me financially. I know we've only been together for a year, but, you know, that's my expectation from the get-go. When I was younger, my dad used to take me everywhere I needed to go. Even when I was driving, he was still taking me where I needed to go. So that's what I expect of Jamal, just to basically be there for me as my protector, provider. And
Jamal, what are your expectations of
It's
Deborah?
funny she says that because I feel like I do that already. I think the question I've actually got for Deborah is, what exactly do you bring to the table?
are you joking?
Did I start?
That's rude. That is very rude. I don't like, should he be asking me that? That's actually rude. But I bring a lot to the table. You know that I have a 9 to 5.
What are your expectations?
Then she was she was about to mention. I'm just going to mute it while we kind of talk as it runs through once again, gentlemen. She was about to mention that she has a 9 to 5 there. I'm sorry, but why do we care about your 9 to 5? You see, ladies assume that men are interested in the same things, man. Like whenever whenever girls list these things, like, goodness gracious me, right? I'm confident, I'm sassy, and stuff like that. It's like, I'm independent, I'm driven, I'm ambitious. All of those things are like white noise to me, guys. Now, I don't speak for every man when I say this, but I think in general, right? Like, men are just not interested in those qualities. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but a girl who's ambitious, confident, driven, she works a 9 to 5, she's independent. All of those things mean absolutely nothing to me. Like I mean, those things are detractors, if anything. Right? Like you want a girl that works 9 to 5 and is independent. What that really means is, okay, you're dealing with someone who's going to be quite opinionated, and who is going to not like, guys just don't want that headache. A lot of girls will think that, oh, you don't want a girl. Here's a really common, a little manipulation thing, or that girls will try and pull, or they'll say, and they'll think that's true. Okay, girls will say, oh, well, why do men pick girls who are not career women? Why do men pick girls who are not so confident, or why are men more interested, should I say, in women who are not ambitious, who are not all of these qualities that I just mentioned, and they want to say, oh, it's because she's easier to manipulate, right? Guys like girls who are younger because they're easier to manipulate. Guys like girls who are less opinionated because they're easier to manipulate. And that's a lie that ladies tell themselves, tell others. But the point is, men don't choose, less opinionated girls because they're easier to manipulate. Men in general just don't want the headache. And again, I don't speak for every guy watching when I say that, but let me know in the comments, gentlemen. I don't want an opinionated girl because it's a headache. It has nothing to do with manipulating the girl. It has nothing to do with wrapping a girl around my finger. Let me tell you this, gentlemen. Let me tell you something about manipulation real quick, right? People manipulate all the time in the dating market. But let me ask you this. Why the hell would you try and manipulate a girl's behaviors? If she is not doing what you want her to do voluntarily, she can go. There's the door, guys. I'm not trying to manipulate anyone. I'm not trying to convince someone to do things. I'm not trying to change her behavior. If her behavior doesn't fall in line, the door is there. Like, she doesn't have to get on the program if she doesn't want to. I'm not interested in playing these mind games. It's tiring, man. It really is. Like, girls will... I don't understand. We'll continue with onto the next video here in a second, but, girls will go through all this, oh yeah, here's all this stuff you can do, and, like, you're going to do all of these things. It's tiring. It's tiring, right? When I say to you guys, hey, it's probably more effective that you don't text back, immediately, that doesn't mean you I'm borrowing this from AMS here, but it doesn't mean you sit on your phone and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to text the girl in 4 hours, and I'm going to think, and I'm going to plan when I'm going to text her next. It means, no, you be busy. Like, stop caring. You don't need to manipulate these situations, man. Like, goodness me. Let's continue on to the next video. Oh, it's failing to load. Now, I'm going to switch screens as I refresh here. But this lady is going to give us her opinion on self-care, I believe, from memory. So let's have a look what she has to say. Oh, goodness gracious me. All right. Apologies in advance for this one, gentlemen.
Stop! You better take back what you just said about yourself. What's the matter with you? You think you're not good enough? Do you know what you just did? Look what you have been doing your whole life. Like, sis, you are amazing. How can you say that about yourself? You are beautiful. You are the baddest. You are the most hardworking chick I know. So stop that right now. That's some lies. That's some lies. That's some lies. You are enough. Don't forget it. And if you do, come back and I'll remind you again. Okay? Be nice to yourself. You deserve it.
People think I'm, intentionally trying to be rude and, attack people when I say this comment here. But let's just entertain the thought that, hey, maybe you're not enough, right? Maybe the girls out here who think that they're bringing the entire table to the like they are the table and all that, maybe they aren't enough. Maybe men are not committing to you because you're not enough, right? Like, when did the default become like, ladies, you're worth everything and more? If a man doesn't like you, well, that's his fault for not seeing it, because you are by default worth enough. I mean, look at this. Right? Like, look at the conviction, right? Let me play that one more time. I'll turn the volume on for it. Let's have a look.
You are enough.
What if you're not? Okay? Like, that's something that the girls don't seem to have an answer for here, right? If you tell a girl, right, like, you're not enough, or, you know, if you ask a girl, what do you bring to the table? Oh, she's just straight up offended, right? Like, how dare you ask me that question? I mean, we saw the video a second ago, did we not, right? This one right here, where she considered it rude when he asked what she brings to the table. Right? If the girls were worth this much, okay, if they were all these fantastic
Don't
qualities,
forget it.
all these fantastic qualities that they say they are, well, then how come they're not being snatched up by a man? If they're such a great deal, okay, if they're such fantastic individuals, then why aren't the men committing? And it really comes down to the girls are choosing men who are beyond their pay grade, to be quite honest. All these girls out here, and again, I'm not saying this to be rude to people, guys, but girls who are quite unattractive think that they're entitled to a guy over 6 foot. And I mean, you want to run the numbers on that right off the bat. The percentage of the population that is over 6 foot and is single as a dude is pretty thin. Right? You're not looking at some good odds, and that's only one statistic. Okay, like, man, like, these girls they're setting themselves up for failure. They really are. And something really kind of weird about this channel, gentlemen, is we've got approximately 6 women who watch this channel, and the rest of the audience is men. Like, we got a fairly big male audience over here. Most of you watching at home right now, most of you are guys, right? And only a small fraction of the people who watch this channel are women. I find it very interesting that I think like 60, maybe 65% of my Patreon calls that I do are women. Right? It's like they're so confused. They come to me with a series of questions. Oftentimes, like I had multiple calls this month, and we're only 6 days in, right? At least where I am right now. And like I get like a series of questions and stuff like that. And girls that they lie to each other, man. I don't know how else to put it to you, right? They lie to each other. But gentlemen, for the rest of today's show, we are going to be jumping into a few Reddit stories. So if you haven't already, guys, make sure you subscribe if you're enjoying the video, and come and join the locals and the Discord links in the description if you haven't already. But we are going to momentarily cross over to today's Reddit stories. And I'm going to start not reading these. Right? I'm not going to read them ahead of time. I kind of want to read them with you so we can go through them together. I think it's more interesting that way. So let's jump into this first one here. It is titled, "My friend is crossing the line with my girlfriend and I am tired of it. Can I get some advice? I'll try to make a long short," right? I, a 20-year-old male, have known my best friend who's 23 since 2019. He has a girlfriend who he cheats on. I met my girlfriend who is 20 last May, and we've been official for almost 2 months. Last year, when I was dating from a different girl, my friend and I had talked about going on a double date. We were in a group chat. I didn't like the idea they came up with. I was the only one against it. Why would I pay to do something I am not interested in? So my friend took it upon himself to private message the girl I was dating and literally try to go through the double date idea they had without me. I was like, why are you texting her? You don't know her. We could have just come up with another idea instead of you going behind my back. He never told me he did this, but she did. He doesn't know that I know. As irritated as I was, I left it alone. Right? And here's the funny thing, before we continue. Leave your thoughts and opinions as we go through, but here's something funny I just kind of want to highlight here is, notice how the girl doesn't brush him off or see anything wrong with the situation. Maybe she does down the line, right? But notice how the girl seems to, at least he hasn't mentioned otherwise, but she seemed to have entertained the idea. Or, if, at least, went along with it for a little bit. It's not as if she came out and said, oh, I had to tell your friend no, because he asked me. Right? And here's the thing, okay? Girls will choose a bad guy that cheats. Right? Like, we'll hear stories of, oh, he cheated on me, and you'll ask her how many times. Oh, he cheated on me 4 or 5 times. And then you ask her the question, oh, how long were you together? Oh, 2 years, 1.5 years. but he cheated on you 4 times, five times, and you didn't even notice? Oh no, I only found out 1 time, and then I took 2 months to break it off. Like, goodness me, man. Let's keep going. I'm gonna give myself a headache here. Now we're back at again with my girlfriend. He doesn't know her. They've never met. I posted her on my Instagram. He followed her for whatever reason. We're talking about going on a double date again. I don't like the idea they came up with it, so he suggested that they pick something without me. That's when I got mad and just put my phone down. What do you mean without me? This is my girlfriend. You don't even know her. First, he private chatted my last girl without me, and now he's trying to go out with my girlfriend without me. I didn't talk to either of them for a good couple of hours. When I finally explained to my girlfriend how I felt, she said that they had FaceTimed. What did I tell you, man? Like, I want to emphasize as well, I have not read this story. I have not. A lot of these are things that you guys have sent to me. I'm not going to be reading them until we crack into today's show. Into each show here. But guys, what did I tell you? Right? Notice how she entertains it. This guy who's cheating, let me point this out to you, okay? This guy who's cheating, girls can sense this stuff from a mile away, whether a guy has options or not. You see, they hate a man who cheats, right? But you know what girls hate more than a man who cheats? A man who doesn't have any options. This is why if you're a guy who doesn't have any options, you're not the best looking, the girls will reject you brutally if need be to make an example of you. They'll say, I don't want a man of this quality, and I use the word quality loosely because it has nothing to do with your quality as a man. They'll say, I don't want a man, they will publicly shame you and reject you if you are not, up to a certain standard. Okay, but and that's who they hate more than cheaters. Let me just tell you that right off the bat. Girls can smell a guy with options, and as much as they say that they hate it, they FaceTime. So it is what it is. Let's keep going. So I felt she said that they had FaceTimed to find out why I wasn't replying. Yeah, because that's a fantastic excuse to. Notice how the excuses for this kind of behavior are just absolute BS. Right? And the girl will justify. You might have been in a situation like this as a guy, right? Where your girlfriend's talking to other guys or something like that, and she'll come up with, oh, we were talking about a project. We FaceTimed because we had to figure out some details with this. It's all lies, man. It's just 100% lies. Don't believe any of that stuff. Please, for the love of goodness. Let's continue. But still, why do you feel so comfortable FaceTiming her, someone you've never even met? Is a text not good enough? He's just too friendly and I don't like it. He's always said that he was happy I found a girlfriend and that he can't wait to meet her, etc. So part of me thinks that he's just trying to get her to know her and etc. But I still feel like he's crossing boundaries, he's too friendly with girls I bring around, and he turns into a comedian all of a sudden. And when I think about if he can't even be loyal to his girlfriend of 1 year, how can I expect him to be loyal to me? My girlfriend says that she doesn't think it's weird that he and her talk. It is. And that I should tell him how I feel, but I'm not even in the mood to speak right now. Yeah, see this part right here? My girlfriend says that she doesn't think it's weird that he and her talk. Guys, we mentioned this in the last video. Girls will do anything and, play any sort of little social card and be agreeable or disagreeable when necessary to keep their options open. Any option that's, a guy who has options or he looks good or, has qualities that she wants, she wants that option. Hell, even if he's an unattractive guy, girls will keep around men just so that they can have the attention and free validation. Girls will never have an issue with another guy to join the roster, right? It's not how it works. Let's continue. And that I should tell him how I feel. Fantastic. The three of us, his girlfriend isn't coming, which was an argument, are supposed to meet tomorrow, but after this, I don't even want to go anymore, and I honestly want to pass on seeing my girlfriend since she doesn't see where I'm coming from. I'm not jealous or anything, I've just noticed his pattern for too long, and it's getting real old. Sorry for the long message. TLDR, my supposed best friend constantly tries to meet/talk to girls I bring around when I'm not there. He's too friendly with them and crosses the line. What do I do? Guys, before we jump into the next story here, let's have a look at this for a second. The three of us, so they were supposed to hang out. It ended up being that his girlfriend wasn't coming. So let's just look at this for another angle. He organized to meet up with this guy's girlfriend. It wasn't even a double date situation. He just met up with his friend's girlfriend behind his friend's back. He didn't even bring his girlfriend. This is two people in relationships, open to the idea of cheating, is what it is. But gentlemen, we are going to crack into the next story here momentarily. So make sure you leave your thoughts and opinions as to what this guy should do. He should obviously just ditch them both. But curious to see what you guys have to say about the situation. And now let's jump into a couple of today's final stories before we wrap up today's episode. So this one is titled, "What is this? Constantly debating if I, a 23-year-old man, should end things with my girlfriend. I, 23 years old, constantly debate about my relationship with my girlfriend. I constantly go back and forth, things will seem to be great and I'm happy, then suddenly stuff hits the fan. The major issues on the relationship are financial misalignment. I try to budget everything and don't like to go over my spending budget. She gets upset with this as I tell her I'm not going to pay for us to eat out again or go do something if I have spent all of the budget. I always pay when we go out to eat, so me saying I'm not going to pay means we don't go. Which I guess it is whatever it is, but it would be nice if she offered to pay for things once in a while, but overall, just wish she wouldn't get mad at me for trying to be smart with my money. Hypocrisy is point number 2. I think we can all be equally guilty of this sometimes, but she is constantly a hypocrite. An example that has happened multiple times is her complaining that I haven't cooked dinner for her in a long time, as we always cook together except for the odd time when I cook for her. I then tell her that she literally has never cooked a meal for me and get a response along the lines of, "What is that supposed to mean?" And then she gets angry. Notice how a very common denominator of these stories, guys, is all this gaslighting, right? Where the girl is in the wrong, okay, but it's somehow flipped on the guy. And the really dangerous part about this is, if you're a man and you're in a relationship, the really dangerous part is, yes, the situation is terrible, but it gets twice as terrible when you start to believe that you are the problem in the situation. Girls will gaslight and gaslight and gaslight until you as a man, you believe that it is your fault that everything wrong is going on, right? And then you have to make a post about like this where you question your own sanity, okay? So don't be doing that. Anyway, let's continue. I don't have a freedom around her. Like, I have to go to bed when she wants to or she is mad. I can't take snap around her or she gets angry and tells me to wake up and then I nap too much. Oh, he meant nap. The only time I even can is when she also is. She will compare at restaurants that I order the same foods all the time. But that's how I am. If I'm going to eat out, I get the food I know I like and don't see why it should concern her. Next one is, she always thinks of herself first. For example, when we're talking about buying a house, I have mentioned, "Hi, I want a garage to be able to work in, as I work on cars as a hobby and also have a collection of tools and a motorcycle. She doesn't want to that would need to be stored in there, and I get a response of, "You don't get the garage." Instead, she thinks that she should get it to park in because she doesn't want to clean snow off her car in the winter. I'm the kind of person that I go out and clean her car off for her anyways. There are other aspects of this as well, even with her parents, where she expects everyone to go out of their way for her and not have to do the same thing in return. Number 5. And you might be a guy watching this right now, right? And this is, you might look at points like these and go, "Oh, I was in that situation," right? Like, these things happen to me. Next one. Makes comments in front of others that are completely uncalled for. A strong example of this has happened in both front of my sister and my friends, where she makes a joke about me having a small thing. I know she is joking. I have no insecurities about this at all, but it's just one of those things that you don't do. It's like I made a joke claiming she was fat or something along those lines. She would not be happy. Number 6. I'm honestly concerned that she is going to be like her mother, who I am not a fan of. She is the type of woman who complains about everything and everything, everyone and everything, and she can do no wrong. She complains about her husband for various reasons after he provided for their family for over 30 years, after she decided to be a stay-at-home mother. I see more and more of her mother coming out of my girlfriend, and it worries me because if I were in the dad's shoes, I would lose my mind. You're already there, my guy. You're already quite deep. Now, there are 9 of these points, and then we'll wrap up the story. Next one is, she makes rude comments and sees no problems with it when I tell her it's rude. Things like telling me I've got, man things, I've got a big belly, or that I'm strange. She says it isn't the sort of playful voice, but I've told her many times it's rude, and she confuses or sees no issue with what she said. Next one, she has a sense of entitlement. For example, I tell her that my investment that went up big and that I took some money out of it to finish paying my debt, and she said, "Oh, where is my money from that?" She always thinks that she should get what she wants and not a compromise. For example, when talking about vacations, she wanted to go to a 5-star resort, and I told her we could save a lot by picking a good 4 or 4.5 stars, as the 5 stars are too much for what I am willing to spend. But she always loops back to, well, my mother says. I try to explain my family always used 4 or 4.5 and have great experiences as long as you research ahead of time, but she won't ever compromise and can't understand that we both make less money than her parents. We have a higher cost of living ahead as the housing market is crazy here, but she seems to think that because she will spend all her spending money on vacation, that I should just want to do that also. I'm really just open to going for her, and I have no interest but will go for her. I just can't justify spending so much at this time. And here's the final thoughts. Altogether, I just can't make up my mind about whether or not I want to continue this relationship or not. My family all love this girl but haven't seen this side of her either. My mother keeps making comments about me marrying her and when I will propose, but honestly, I am nowhere near ready for that, and I'm not sure that I could see that from us. Should I try to work things out or do my research like enough justifying breaking up? I'm not sure how I would go about telling my family and how to explain why I ended it if I do. It's been stressing me out too much lately. Goodness me, that was a bit of a read there, guys. But, you know, these are incredibly common situations, and these are things that men get themselves into a lot of the time, okay? I will say this. If you're a man and you don't have a lot of options, which, you know, the average man typically doesn't, you can choose to be by yourself. I think it is far wiser to be by yourself than to be with someone who doesn't appreciate you and who treats you terribly. Okay, now a lot of men will say, "Oh, well, Taylor, it's all about, you know, it's about having a family, and it's about, you know, showing people that you care and stuff like that." Gentlemen, I think that boundaries are incredibly important. Okay, and I don't think that any man should be putting themselves in this situation because their family told them to or because other people told them to. The bottom line is you need to be having self-respect and not continuing situations with people like this. But gentlemen, we have run out of time. This has been a very long story. Make sure you leave your thoughts and your comments to what this guy should do. My opinion, he should obviously just cut it off, but it is always interesting to see what you guys have to say. And we are going to call it there. So as always, make sure you come and join the locals and the Discord links in the description if you haven't already. And if you'd like to support the channel, Locals has an option for that. But goodness me, my voice is dying. So we're going to have to call the show there. As always, gentlemen, make sure you take care of yourselves. And I will be seeing you guys in the next video. Peace.